This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Huss and Reem with you. We've got lots to get to today. Ken Wiebe, who always joins us talking Jets, is actually on the Bomber beat today, and Ken is down at practice. So I'm looking forward to doing a little double dip with Wiebe later on in the program after practice finishes up. He'll give us the latest on the Bombers as they get ready for Caden Salter's first CFL start Thursday night at Princess Auto Stadium as the Bombers look to get back into the win column against the struggling BC Lions. And obviously we'll talk a little Jets as well. Some interesting news off the wire. Shout out to Dave Manouk from Illegal Curve, who filled this in that Alphonse Frey is leaving Sweden and coming to North America to join the Jets organization. He got a taste of the American Hockey League and played some games at the end of last year. And the second rounder via Montreal that was acquired in the LA Pierre-Luc Dubois trade will be part of the mix. So we'll get into some of that, see if he's got any update on the Hildebrandt situation and more. So Ken Wiebe coming over later on. We're actually going to have a guest a little earlier than we normally do. Simon Hildebrandt from the Sea Bears is going to jump on. 2 more games for the Sea Bears before the playoffs. We'll see how the fellas are feeling after a couple tough losses last week, going into 2 incredibly important games, including their Friday night fan appreciation game at Canada Life Center, and then the finale on the road, which hopefully will determine first place in the division and home field in a potential conference championship game in Vancouver. And then we're going to talk some baseball too. MLB trade deadline is Friday. The Jays have been terrible this season. Who is on the block? Who could be moving? What are they looking for coming back? Josh Goldberg from Blue Jays Nation will join us on the program as well. We'll get to the Cool Bet lines. We will also get ready for a night of live racing at Assiniboia Downs at the end of the program. So it should be a good one. Listen, just before we bring in Michael Remis, do want to thank all our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Our partners at Cool Bet Canada, who also present CFL 110. That is live right now on the channel. Hammer and I chopped it up for more than an hour this morning, coming out of a wild weekend in the league, and of course hit the lines and set up a big weekend of CFL action, which begins right here in the Peg on Thursday night. Also want to thank Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line Plumbing, Heating and Electrical, Manitoba Battery and Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the Gold Eyes, who are beginning a week at home on Friday, at Blue Cross Park, Assiniboia Downs. Don't forget the Manitoba Derby on Monday. Darren Dunn's going to join us later on this week. Rolly's Transfer, the wonderful people at St. Vital Dental Center, and we will get to a Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Welcome to everybody in chat. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And a big WST welcome to all you podcast listeners. Michael Remis, what is up?
Hey, just enjoying a nice, sunny July day. The last couple of days of July, getting hot and getting ready for a very busy Winnipeg sports weekend. You mentioned the Manitoba Derby. The Gold Eyes have a homestand kicking off with the Bombers. Thursday, great edition of CFL 1 today, getting me pumped up for Week 9 already. And nice to have Simon on because Sea Bears have a big one here on Friday for their regular season finale as well. So feeling pretty good here as we're heading into the long weekend, Huss.
Yes, we are. August long weekend, always one of the best ones of the year. Seeing everyone's all fired up in chat. Great to see everyone. And hey, Shane Payne's back. Feels good to finally be back in chat for a bit when the little one is asleep. Good day, WSTers. Of course, Shane Payne welcomed the newest WST fan into the world last week, so congratulations to you and the family. Shane. Remo, we're going to have Simon Hildebrandt join us in just a few minutes. Right off the bat, and we'll kind of dive into the Bomber stuff, some really interesting stuff from both of the coordinators. Tommy Condell on the offense, Jordan Younger on the defense. We will get to that in about 20 minutes or so. But some big news on the NHL broadcast agreement. And it kind of felt like after Rogers signed that 12-year deal for all that money, that there was going to be another shoe to drop. And today, Remis, that shoe did, with more information on what games would be eaten up and shown on Prime Video by Amazon.
Yeah, so the last 2 years we had Prime Monday Night Hockey on Prime Video streaming. It was Monday exclusive. That agreement was only for 2 years, so it's up. And with the new Rogers deal, they signed a 12-year agreement with the NHL. They've sold off Wednesday night hockey, so Prime now moving to Wednesdays for the streaming game. But also new for this agreement, they'll have 2 first-round playoff series streaming on Prime and 1 second round. They didn't say what it was. I'm going to guess Rogers will keep the Canadian series and maybe put one of the lesser watch ones on Prime, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. So some big news on what day the national games are for streaming only. And Kelly Moore noted on X, the Jets are playing 7 Wednesday nights this year, but we haven't announced the actual broadcast schedule yet, Huss. And I remember last year the Jets played a number of Mondays where it was not part of that exclusive broadcast window. So we'll have to wait and see how many games for Jets regular season will be on Prime. But big news today for how you watch NHL hockey. Prime, the home of Wednesday night hockey now, no longer Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anytime you mention streaming services, a bunch of people get bent, and I get it. I mean, it's just an extra charge. Listen, I'm kind of partial to Amazon because, that's a subscription that, frankly, I think many of us had before they even got into this streaming. I mean, you do it for all the services that Amazon does, and it's sort of a bonus. When you move to new streamers and adding in an extra cost, that's something that, I think a lot of people have a bit of an issue with anytime you're adding the cost. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, we could maybe spend a bit more time talking about this on, what Sportsnet has done to the cost of the Sportsnet Plus package this year. But I thought the Monday hockey last year was excellently done. And to be honest, Remo, I mean, knowing that Amazon was going to have some games, whether it's Monday or Wednesday, don't really care. Just hope they continue to put the same sort of resources into the broadcast that they did last year with the additional mics, sending their teams to wherever those games were being played. I thought they really did a good job. Obviously had some great talent as part of the broadcasts. And, it's good for hockey fans, and I think it's good for the broadcasters to have other people involved to try to raise the level of production that fans are getting on a nightly basis.
Yeah, I already have Amazon, so I was, happy that it was on that service. And I agree with you. The broadcasts were very well received. The video quality seemed like a step up. The audio quality as well, exceptional. And you had to like how they brought people on site. Very cool having Adnan Verk and whoever was joining him on the panel, downstairs at Canada Life Center, doing segments. It added a lot. And as far as the playoff games, Sportsnet had the rights for the last deal, and they just rebroadcast the U.S. version. So I think they're going to have their own, they will have their own broadcast for those series they're getting in the playoffs. And, I would expect the same, what we've seen from them. So it's, I think, tough to digest, the cost. Seems to be the way things are going. But I think a lot of people really like what Amazon has done with their broadcasts.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm not sure whether I mentioned that. I know we were talking about it off air.
Yeah.
The Wednesday night package is now on Amazon. This deal also includes 2 first-round playoff series and 1 second-round playoff series. Now, there was some confusion, Reem, as to whether that would be like Canadian teams. Like, could the Jets make the playoffs and all of a sudden have all their games exclusively on Amazon? Doesn't sound like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I was following Jonah Siegel, YYZ Sports Media, who we had out on. He figured it would be like U.S. teams that they're not. I figured the ones they don't broadcast anyway. I think Rogers will get first dibs and take the Canadian playoff series, but something to watch for. And I see people commenting, people enjoyed the Thursday prime, like ice surfing that they had. I don't know if that's coming back or not.
Oh, I doubt that they're backing off of it. I mean, the fact that this is an increased investment, more time in hockey. So I hope that they're going to do that. I would be surprised, frankly, if they went away from, the way that they'd built it up and continue to sort of add more content of what they were able to do.
Yeah, and there was speculation as well from Dave Pagnotta that he thought maybe Crave would get involved with a Monday night hockey national broadcast, but Jonah Siegel saying no chance of that happening. So right now, you have Sportsnet has their Saturday, Monday and Wednesday on Prime. So how we watch hockey changing. The official broadcasts haven't been announced. They noted that they're going to be getting more national games. So I don't know if that reduces what TSN has for the Jets. So we'll have to wait and see when the official schedules come out.
Yeah, no doubt. The one thing I'll say, we were talking about those Monday packages of potentially going to Bell. The problem for Bell, if it's Mondays, is that they're already so committed to the National Football League and Monday Night Football. Can't imagine they'd want to spend millions of dollars on a package that for half the season is going head to head with a product that is pretty much unassailable. And we know what the numbers are like for the National Football League. Well, more on this later on. We'll get your thoughts, but why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? What do you make of Amazon Prime taking over Wednesday night hockey this year for the NHL broadcast? If you've got a take, let us know in the chat for the Why Not question of the day for not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. All right, we're going to talk some Sea Bears. Simon Hildebrandt just about to join us. Do want to thank our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical for their support of WST. Of course, they are the residential and commercial plumbing experts, along with heating and electrical services, and have been Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. They've got you covered 24/7, just like the Captain Adam Lowry does of his teammates. 204-500-2001 is the number that you need to remember for 24/7 emergency services. You can also check them out online at cleanline.ca for more information on everything they do, financing and more. And of course, you can get in touch with them or schedule an appointment online at cleanline.ca. Back at Princess Auto Stadium on Thursday. And of course, the Bombers hopefully will have a bit more juice in their battery against the BC Lions than they did against the Calgary Stampeders. If you need juice in your battery, head over to Manitoba Battery, your local option, proud sponsors of the Bombers, powering the blue and gold this season. For the best in batteries at the best prices in town. Stop wasting time and money at the big box stores when you can shop local, get the best prices on batteries for literally everything, period. Not to mention the best in customer service with 2 locations, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive in the south end of the city. Manitoba Battery will take care of you. And they'll also deliver the batteries if you're busy and you can't get out there. You can give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com. For all your battery needs, keep it local and save money with Manitoba Battery, 2 locations to serve you. And just before we bring in Simon, if you have a move planned this summer or fall, make sure to get in touch with the great people at Rolly's Transfer. Family owned and operated for over 60 years. Rolly's is the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba and has been now going into their 7th decade. Head on over to their website at rollys.com. And in the top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. Throw in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. Then let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quickly, get you a great quote, and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they have been famous for now well over 60 years. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today online at rollys.com. Well, we're getting down to the last couple games in the CEBL regular season. There will be playoff basketball here in Winnipeg. We'll find out if we might get even a little bit more based on the result of the next couple games. Let's welcome in Simon Hildebrandt from the Sea Bears back to WST. Simon, what's going on, dude? Great to have you back on the show. Hold on a sec. Reem, do you have him muted?
I just got to enable his microphone. 1 sec. I think we're good
Hold
now.
on a sec. Just got to enable it. Simon, what's up? How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? You can hear me? All right.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you great now. I'm good. You know, I'm fired up for this home stretch. A big one, regular season home finale on Friday, and then one more road game, and then we're going to get some playoff basketball. Just first off, big picture, how are you feeling about the season so far, and you personally?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good year. Obviously, we've lost a couple down the stretch that we'd like back, but we're still in like a really good position. You know, we're hosting a home playoff game. You know, we still have a chance to win the whole West and have the whole Western Conference run through Winnipeg. So it's been a good year. It's been a positive first year for Coach Rainbow. I think myself, it's been a good year too. I think I've had a lot of areas of growth in my game on both sides of the floor and in a lot of different aspects. So I'm looking forward to keep on improving and see if we can finally get that first playoff win in Sea Bears history.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and just to reset for people that maybe don't know about the changes this year. Last couple of years, you had to be in the top 2 in the division or maybe first, depending on who was hosting, and you'd go to the championship weekend. This year, and I think it's a great change for the league, you earn home playoff dates. And we know how good the Sea Bears have been at home this year. 4 teams in each division make the playoffs, 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3, higher seeded teams. And then the conference championship game will be played at the higher seeded team. And that's a big part of these final couple games. But Simon, for a team that has been so good at home for the most part this year, I'd imagine that finding a way to finish on top of the division, first things first, you got to win your first playoff game, but the possibility of just playing at home for 2 games and going to the championship final is probably pretty enticing for everyone in blue.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, everybody knows that in this league, it's no secret that Winnipeg is by far miles and miles the best place to play. All right, so obviously if we can play there and have the fans behind us, have the whole city behind us while we hopefully try to make a run to the finals, it's obviously more beneficial for us than having to go out to Vancouver or somewhere else.
You know, it's been listen, the season's been awesome. You know, we mentioned Coach Rainbow coming in, bringing Teddy Allen back, now getting Xavier Moon. But with that comes high expectations. And certainly you guys succeeded. I mean, a nice winning streak at home early on. Put yourself right there with Vancouver at the top. But it wasn't a great weekend for the club. I mean, Thursday and Saturday, a couple games that, you guys really were in control of for a while. And then whether it was a little bit of cold shooting, some calls the other way. I mean, what's the feeling of the team just after these couple games? And how do you look back at those ones that were probably quite winnable and probably more often than not this season, you actually do win those games and finish them out?
Yeah, definitely 2 games that we'd like back. Like you said, we had fantastic positioning and opportunity to win both of those games. I think it's just the nature of this league where we had played, I don't know how many games it was and how many days. I think we were a little bit beat up. We missed some shots we usually hit. So I think having just this full week off, like last game being on a Saturday and not playing until this Friday, I think was good for us to kind of just get our rest, get our legs back, get a little bit of chance to recover a little bit. And hopefully we'll be pretty fresh heading into our final 2 regular season games here.
Now, the one thing that it certainly does is jack the stakes up for this game on Friday against Ottawa. Listen, you always want to win at home in front of your home fans. You guys are professionals. You are paid to go out and win this game. But with the circumstances of the losses on the weekend, you really have to win this game to make that final game in Vancouver essentially a 1-game playoff for first in the conference. And I'm sure if I told you at the start of the season that would be the scenario, you and all of your teammates would have signed up for that in a second.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's obviously that Vancouver game, we all got circled on our calendar. Like you said, it's a good chance to kind of have a best of the West battle to see who can host the Western side of the playoffs. But we can't overlook Friday. Ottawa is the team who's hitting their stride right now. Like, we beat them pretty good way earlier in the year at their place, but they've won a bunch here, and they're making a big push for the playoffs too. So definitely not one we can look past. Cherish these home games. Like I said, like there's no place like Winnipeg to play in the CBL. So like cherish these home games, make the most of them, not look past it. Got to play Ottawa first, and then once we get that one, we can look ahead to Vancouver.
Hey, just on the season so far, tell us about the switch over to Mike Rainbow. I mean, you were a Bison guy. He was at U of W, but he was obviously part of the organization before, and so you're familiar with him. Certainly gone very well on his watch. What have you learned from Mike, and what have you thought about the way that he's led the team so far?
Yeah, everybody always says, "Oh, how's it playing for Mike?" As a Westman guy, you're a Bison. Like, at the end of the day, like, me and Coach Rainbow had a great relationship all throughout when I played against him. He helped out with the Sea Bears. Like, there's never been any, bickering or, going at each other. Like, I think we all want Winnipeg to succeed. So I think the fact that both the Bisons and the Westmen were successful over my time there was so good for the province. I think he's done just a great job building this team and putting guys in positions to be successful and holding guys accountable. And I think myself, he's really pushed me to be a better defender this summer, to be a better rebounder this summer. 2 areas of my game where I felt like I had the most room to grow. I think just kind of with that constant reassurance and that constant, like, hey, like, if you do all these little things, do all the little things that, most guys don't necessarily love doing, like, you'll find a way on the court. And doing those things will just find other ways to be successful. And so I've just been trying to buy into that, and I feel like he's really helped me become a better basketball player this summer. I think that's led to a more productive year for me this year.
I have to admit, I mean, I had known of Mike, and we've had him on the show a couple times, really enjoyed chatting with him. But I think at the one point for me where I was like, okay, wow, this is definitely, a departure and this wasn't just the assistant taking over and doing the same thing, was when we found out that Teddy Allen was coming back to the Sea Bears. And, it ended sort of in not the greatest of ways the first time. What did you think when you heard that Teddy was coming back? And tell us about having him back in and just how important he's been outside of performances like the other day where he dropped 54.
Yeah, I mean, I from what I remember a couple of years ago, Teddy and Coach Rainbow always had a really good relationship when he was an assistant coach. And so when they signed him back, I was like, you know what, I think this is a good sign. They've always had a great relationship. And I'm sure Coach Rainbow would have done his research before bringing Teddy back. And it's been awesome. Like, off the court, Teddy's been fantastic. He's been a great teammate. He's been like exactly what you want out of him this year. And he's on the court, he's playing like an MVP caliber player, and off the court he's been like a fantastic teammate, always helping guys out with stuff, always like doing little things. He's been like such a great guy to have in our locker room this year. So it's been a lot of good stuff with him so far.
Speaking of MVPs, I had to wait a little while, but Xavier Moon, now a member of the club, Tell us what he adds to the mix and what this team might be capable of doing come the postseason now that everyone seems to be here going in the same direction.
Yeah, obviously he's a super talented player. You saw it too in his debut. He had whatever it was, 14 assists and all these points. And even our tough loss against Brampton, he really got it going in the second half. I think part of the reason, and again with this league, like guys are always coming and going, and it took us a while to get our kind of full team together, and we're still trying to figure out how to play the best with all our guys. So every game we play with both Xavier and Teddy on the floor is one game with more continuity we get, right? Some of the other teams have had a chance to have all their guys there for a few more games than us, so we're hoping that, get a couple good practices in this week, get another couple games, regular season games, and then come playoff time, hopefully we hit our stride.
One of the hometown heroes of the Winnipeg Sea Bears, Simon Hildebrandt, with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. The Sea Bears at home Friday, fan appreciation night against Ottawa. And as I mentioned, a very, very important game in that a win would assure the Sea Bears of the ability to win the division and have home court through the conference playoffs if they can get that win. Simon, it's funny. I'm seeing, a bunch of comments just on how much people enjoy the Sea Bears. Vicky says Sea Bears are having a great year. Hildebrandt has made some clutch shots this year. And Bridget mentioned the Sea Bears games, a lot like Bomber games now, fun events, even if you're not a huge football or basketball fan. You do have a lot of very passionate fans, though, that have been filling that building. What are you expecting Friday night for the regular season finale, knowing the stakes that are on the line for the game?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one, and like I said, the fans in this city have been showing up all season. And kind of like you said, I think they've done a great job with the marketing in terms of with the Bomber game. A lot of time you go to the Bomber game, there's a lot of standing room. You go there to socialize. There's people who go there to watch football, but there's so many people who go there to socialize and hang out and maybe watch half the game here and there. I think the Sea Bears have done a good job with the South Pole. You can go there with a big group of people and you can watch basketball and you can also talk and hang out. You're not confined to your seat for the entirety of the game. And so I think it's been a great way to get people out, get people closer to the action and feel more involved. Having a packed house Friday will be big for us.
And then of course it'll be playoffs, and fingers crossed we'll have a couple playoff games here.
Yeah.
That remains to be seen. But as a guy that's been here for most of the Sea Bears' existence, a Winnipeg born and bred basketball player, the thoughts of the opportunity with this squad to win a championship. What would that mean for you if you guys are actually able to put it all together and have a big celebration downtown?
Yeah, obviously that would be huge. Just being, like you said, from here and doing it for this city. I love being in Winnipeg. And I love that, it's getting the recognition that I think it deserves in the basketball world with this league. And so if we could have the opportunity to do it and, win a championship here, I think that'd be very special.
Simon, it's funny because we're talking about these games this weekend and the playoffs, and this is all happening in literally the next 3 weeks. Have you made any plans for September yet? What's next once you guys hopefully have a big party here after winning the whole thing?
Yeah, I've signed to go play in Germany in the fall. So I'll leave, mid-August after the season here, and hopefully have a great year over there.
Nice. Going overseas, you've played here, you've played around, you played internationally. I imagine pretty excited to see what Europe has to offer. Yeah,
definitely. It's been playing in Europe has been a goal of mine ever since I was younger. When I started, seeing basketball as something I could see myself doing in the future, and so it's been, Europe's kind of always been my dream. So I think to finally see it come to fruition has been a really cool experience. And I'm excited to get out there, but a little bit of unfinished business here first.
What team and league? Do you know much about where you're heading to?
Yeah, they're called Bayreuth. So it's in the Pro A division in Germany, which is their second division over there. And
Perfect.
funny enough, me and Mason Krause are in the same league, and we play each other first game of the year down there.
That's
Yeah,
amazing, amazing. A little bison on
yeah,
bison action
exactly.
in the German league. Well, listen, I mean, we'll look forward to following you guys overseas and pulling for you and checking in throughout the year. But right now, it's all systems go for the Sea Bears in this playoff push.
100%.
Friday night, fan appreciation night, Ottawa in town. Get your tickets, get out there, and then we will just simply wait to see what happens in that final game and when the Sea Bears are playing their first playoff game. And if things go right, it might be two, and then hopefully a game to either kick off or finish the championship series, depending on what happens in the East. Simon, always great having you on the program. Good luck to you and the fellas on Friday
Thank
night
you.
and in Vancouver. And we're going to be looking forward to talking about some big playoff action next week here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
For sure. I appreciate that.
Take it easy, pal. Thanks for doing this.
You too.
All right, there's Simon Hildebrandt of the Winnipeg Sea Bears. Again, Friday night. And then the Sea Bears go to Vancouver. That game is on, what is it, on Sunday? I'm pulling it up right here for our old pals, the Sea Bears. The game schedule, the final one is, Sunday afternoon. I was right. So Sunday afternoon, I think that game's on CBC as well. So that would be great. I mean, listen, if the fellas can get the job done, and I know they'll really be itching to get a home win after these last couple games. You take care of business on Friday, head out to Vancouver on Saturday, and then 2:30 p.m. our time from Langley, BC, on CBC, on YouTube. It would be a battle for first place in the conference. Sea Bears, if they win, would tie Vancouver, but would get the first place spot on account of the season series. So, anyways, thanks to Simon for jumping on, and wishing him and Mason Krause good luck when they head overseas to their German teams this year. All right, we're going to get to some Bomber audio in just a minute. Of course, Princess Auto Stadium's the place to be on Thursday night. Bombers Lions, 7:30 p.m. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsor of the Bombers in their home Princess Auto Stadium, WST, and of course now have that incredible new facility, 105,000 square feet of literally everything at the new flagship store. Pop by there, come hungry, grab a smash burger, grab a beer, and take your time going through the biggest store Princess Auto has ever opened, and one that is it's truly a wonder. As I said, we spent last Wednesday there, had such a great time. You know, all Princess Auto, you got everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new waiting for you there, and even more projects with the big capacity of the new flagship store, 500 Panet Road. Get down and check it out if you haven't been there already. Shout out to our friends, the Derminator, and the great people at Chud's Power Sports. Long weekend coming up. This is a great time to think about getting outside, and Chud's is the spot. They are the Power Sports Superstore in Manitoba for 80 years, with the best in new and used vehicles, including motorcycles, dirt bikes, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats and outboard motors, RVs, Argos, Polaris off-road vehicles. Heck, and not that we want to even mention winter, but the best in snowmobiles as well. And they don't wait for they don't need to wait for snow for great deals on those. Pop up and see them. Corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. You can also see everything going on. Contact them, financing, promotions, as well as a link to their clearance store on gear and accessories of True North Parts online at chudspowersports.com. But if you're in the market for any of those things, go see the Derminator and the great people at Chud's up in Gimli. Our friend Dr. Tarian is wonderful. Speaking of wonderful people, the staff at St. Vital Dental Center, just phenomenal. Every time I go in and get my teeth cleaned, it's great to see the whole gang there. St. Vital Dental Center has been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. Now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. And they do it all for clients from 6 months to 99 plus with the full array of dental services, starting with cleanings and checkups, things like dental implants. No matter what you need for your grill, Dr. Terry and his team have got you covered. Check them out online, stviteldental.ca. Make an appointment, pop in and tell them the fellas at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And we got a big sports weekend, as we mentioned, at the venues in and around Winnipeg. It's also going to be a great week for the Canadian Football League. Big doubleheader, finishing with Edmonton and Saskatchewan on Saturday night. Blue Jays continuing a push, and we'll talk to Josh in a minute about where the Jays sit right now. Bottom line is, if you're getting out to watch the big game, make it your local Boston Pizza. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more, all waiting for you with the big game on the big screen with big sound. At your local BP, staying at home, order online at bostonpizza.com. All right. Remo, good stuff with Simon Hildebrandt. I always love having him on the program. And, man, for those Winnipeg guys, and Mike Rainbow as well, I mean, they're on the verge of beginning this playoff. But I've always thought, especially for the guys, there's so much local content on this team, how special it would be for the Sea Bears to cap a great season off with the championship, but especially for those local players.
Man, I was almost surprised when he said they hadn't won a playoff game. But you know what? He's right. They've had a lot of success, but I remember being at that first one. It was a packed house, great crowd, but they came up just short. And last year, was set up for them to have success with championship weekend here, but it wasn't their year. So what an opportunity that would be to get the first playoff win and get a deep playoff run, as they have changed the playoff format for this year and for the better. If you want to grow as a league, I think it's the right move for them. So they had a bit of a setback here on the weekend, but as Simon mentioned, a week off is going to help a lot, and two big ones this weekend, including Sunday's season finale in Vancouver, a team they're battling with for first place.
Yeah, listen, I just hope that they can get the job done on Friday night, and then we can kick back and watch the game on television in the middle of the long weekend and see if they can pull it off and win first place. Great stuff with Simon, anyways, joining us on the program. All right, Ken's going to join us from the stadium a little later on. We're going to talk some Jays and the MLB trade deadline coming up with Josh Goldberg. But before we do that, we don't get a chance to hear from the coordinators very often. And if you listened to the show yesterday, when you have a disaster like the game on Friday night, there'll be a lot of talk about the OC, the DC. Well, they both spoke yesterday. And obviously we heard from Brady Oliveira and what Brady had to say about the identity of the offense. Tommy Condell was asked about Brady Oliveira's season so far and the running game right now. Here's what he had to say on that.
I think he's tried to do everything we've asked him to do, trying to, I don't know what his stats are really, but I think he's able to do that with his protection, right? And ultimately trying to do the things that we ask.
His last touch of that game was 16 minutes ago when he scored his longest touchdown ever. Yeah. What led to that being the case?
Well, number one, I think we have to always try to create explosives, but I think from the game structure, and I think why he got that long run is from the up front. He was able to kind of get through that second level, but most importantly, you get a chance to watch the receivers trying to transition and get up there. That's what happened. Yeah. It takes everyone. It's a team. It's not just one guy running the ball. There's another 11, and it's always I guess you'd say a we over me mentality in that way.
Yeah. From a play calling perspective, why was that his last touch? What happened in the game from your perspective?
Yeah, I'm always trying to make the best decisions I can during the game, and I thought that was the best decision for the team in order to, get back into the game.
I mean, listen, a big part of that reason is that Drew Brown kept on throwing picks in the fourth quarter. I mean, we can talk all we want about Brady getting touches and what he's doing. If your offense can't stay on the field, the running back isn't getting the ball. And listen, they were down big. They needed points. They needed a lot of them. Traditionally in those situations, that is when you're trying to get big chunk plays. You're throwing the ball. Unfortunately, those passes were completed to the wrong team, and everyone was sitting on the sidelines. But here's DT with a little bit more on this, and just kind of asking if there's enough time to run when you are down and trying to get back in the game.
I'm trying to get back into the game. You guys were down 12 with, you would have the ball back with 15 minutes to go. There's not time to run the ball as much there?
Well, like I said before, I make a decision what's best for the team and how we're going to win that game, and that's what I did.
Is there a certain element of you can use the run to protect the quarterback when he's thrown 2 picks to that point? Or is that not a thing?
Protect
the offense from turning the ball over, I should probably say, because Drew had a couple of picks by that point.
I would say analytics would say it always, like running the football has the ability to have less turnovers than the pass, but the pass would have ultimately more chunks of yardage. But I don't know the numbers directly, but analytically that would be the case.
Yeah. Looking back at how the game played out, are you comfortable with how the play calling went? Would you do it again that way?
Well, every game is different, right? And so every game that you look at is a play caller mentality, and I've done it for over 20 years. I have never called a perfect game, but you wouldn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Because there might be things that are a touchdown that were not what I would have done something different. So I think you have to self-actualize every single time. It's like, it's no different than yourselves as a professional. I'm always striving to try to be great for those players and put them in the best possible situation. And at times, I have to own some of the things that I didn't do correctly. And I certainly do that with the team, and I do that in there. And they understand from an accountability that I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to make sure that they know it. I don't hide on behind that, but we do that in a team setting, in a private setting.
That was kind of interesting. Tommy dropping. I can't remember the last time I heard a football coach, or at least in the CFL, talking analytics in an answer ream. And DT, I'm sure, loved that because he's a big analytics guy.
Yeah, credit to Tommy for stepping up to the mic, answering the questions. He's got the hat on with the glasses on top of the hat, so he's ready to give some good answers. And I think there's some valid questions here asked about the run game. Although I was looking at Schnitzy, who does the Bomber Report with Connor, put out some interesting stats where, the Bombers, after 7 games, 4-3 this year, they're also 4-3 last year. Both years third in the West. But if you look at some stats here, Huss, points for, offensive touchdown, yards per play, pass yards, pass touchdowns. A lot of these stats, Huss, their offense is actually worse relative to the rest of the league, or, the exact same. So the Bombers' offense, has a bit of a way to go here if they want to catch up to everyone. Thankfully for them coming into this game, the defense had been coming up with some big stops, but going to be tough for any offense to put up 50 points if you want to win. But, the interceptions were, not great there when trying to come back at the end. And I do hope they try to get Brady involved. But you do, the one big difference between last year and this year is number of rush yards, where last year at this point they were first in the league in rushing yards, and this year they're 6th. However, I would agree that a lot of that is because they've been behind and he has been getting game scripted out, but you can still find ways to get him the ball because he's such an impact player, and we saw that on that 45-yard run. And the next couple drives, they opted to pass first, and on 2 of those drives, the ball was picked off, so they didn't get another chance. So certainly, it wasn't the way they would have drawn it up on Friday.
Yeah, listen, it's different philosophies. Some would like to establish a passing threat that enables you to maybe do a little bit more on the ground. The Bombers traditionally have established the run, which has opened up more things in the passing game. Listen, the big question was, what is the offensive identity of this team? Brady Oliveira asked it himself after the game and said that he didn't know Here's Tommy Condell on trying to build that offensive identity for his club.
You know, it starts right from the beginning. I've said this day one. I think it was, well, day one was probably the 24th of December. So I think the identity at any time, it doesn't matter who's playing. And it doesn't matter what quarterback's playing. It doesn't matter what tailback's playing. It doesn't matter what offensive line's playing. You know, we've got to be able to protect the football. We've got to create explosives. We got to be physical and we got to finish, right? We got to marry the run and the pass. I've said that before and I constantly say that, right? So those are the things that we need to be able to do. Now, we have to improve on the ball security, right? We do. You know, we have, it's 8 total fumbles, right? 5 that we let go, and we have 8 interceptions, a total of 12, right? So we've got to do a better job. We've got to coach it better, right? And those are the things that be intentional during practice. The explosives, we're moving along, you know, and I think that we're doing a good job on that, you know, off of that. So those are the things that we need to improve upon.
Both you and head coach O'Shea have said that collaboration is huge when it comes to your guys' offense. How do you balance maybe like too many cooks in the kitchen with strong collaboration?
You know, I think the biggest thing is from the offensive standpoint, from a coordinator standpoint, you know what you want to be able to do. You know what kind of information that you want to take in. You know what's going to work and not work. And it's an ultimate respect of understanding and talking through it and saying, okay, you might come with a great play, right? But we can't do it from an execution standpoint. It might be too short of a week to put it in, or it might not be good versus all kinds of defenses. They only saw one look. It's communication. I've got to communicate more effectively to make them understand why or why not, or how we're going to make it better. So it's not like 2 cooks in the kitchen. It's not. I want these individuals, these players, to have multiple experience to be a part of this. You know, and they have to be a part of it. Let it be from a play calling standpoint. Let it from a play, scheme design. You know, they want to. You have to be make sure that they understand the intent of everything and the why behind that. And that's my job.
All right, so there's Tommy Condell. I have to admit, I hadn't really heard much from Tommy before. Probably not the easiest day to go and meet the media after last game, but I think he's very, very on point. If you want to see one thing that has, you know, been a thorn in the ass of the Bomber offense this year, it's been ball security. When you look at the games that they've lost, they have not taken care of the football, and that is maybe, if you change one thing going into tomorrow's game or Thursday's game, take care of the damn football, and it'll help everyone. We'll have more on the Bombers. We'll hear from Jordan Younger in a bit, and Ken's going to join us coming out of practice today. But let's welcome in from the DFA podcast. Big week for the Jays and the Majors going into the trade deadline. Josh Goldberg returns to the program. Josh, what's going on, dude? It's great to have you back. How are you?
Yeah, good to see us. Good to be on as always.
You know, it's, I mean, 10 games under 500, a slog. Is there, before we kind of get into what the team may do at the deadline, in your opinion, is there any hope? Like, the AL sucks this year. I mean, the fact of the matter is there would be years where they would be light years away from a wild card spot. Is it artificially close with all the teams that are in the mix right now? Or is there a reason to believe that a team that we know can be a lot better might have it in them to get into the mix? Or are we officially into next year's season in your line?
Yeah, you make a good point about the American League, the reality this year of there being really no great teams, even the ones that are leading their respective divisions. Like, the Rays have been really good this year. I don't know if I necessarily would qualify them as being a great team. But the Jays just haven't shown anything this year that indicates that they're close to putting it together in the way that they're going to need to make up the amount of ground that needs to be made here. It's been more than 100 games of consistently inconsistent baseball where they just haven't really fired on all cylinders at all this season. And I just haven't seen anything substantial that leads me to believe that that's going to change. My best course of action would be to sell rentals get what you can for those guys. If somebody's prepared to blow your door off for a Tyler Rogers, I think it was on TSN here in Toronto, Buster Olney said that he wouldn't be shocked if they dangled Louis Varland. I don't personally see that, but maybe you look to add some control beyond this season. And then with the guys that are here, take your chances, see what happens. Maybe you get hot. Maybe you can make things relatively interesting down the stretch. But I don't think that the landscape of the American League should change what's happened so far this season and what the best course of action is for the Blue Jays ahead of the trade deadline.
Now, do you think Ross Atkins shares that opinion? I mean, sometimes it's difficult, and God knows we talk a lot about the Jets here. They sort of get married to their guys, and I could understand being married to guys that took you to Game 7 of the World Series last year, but it's just impossible to look at this team. I mean, the down years for so many of those players. In fact, it's actually incredible, Josh. Like, I think, like, where would this team be without Cease and Okamoto and Rogers? Like, they actually nailed all of the offseason signings, and yet the team is a disaster.
Yeah, I said this within the last week that to me that is the most disappointing thing is a lot of people are, for some reason, people are always more critical of a coach or manager or a front office when a team has a bad year, instead of just pointing the blame where it ultimately lies, which is with the players. I understand it's always, there's a scapegoat, and that's who usually falls on the sword when the team underperforms, because you can't fire all of the players. But the reason that the Blue Jays stink this year is because too many of their players have been bad. As good as it was last year, the reverse has happened. So blaming anyone but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has fewer home runs this season and like 430 plate appearances than he did in the playoffs last year. Stuff like that. You can't withstand those kinds of body blows. And to have a Cy Young candidate and arguably the best closer in the American League, if he's not number one, he's right there. And then you mentioned like Okamoto is going to set the rookie record for home runs by a Blue Jay. Rogers has been great. It's a really bitter pill to swallow that you made a lot of good moves, and the thought was that would cushion the Bo Bichette departure and supplement what you already have or had coming into the season off of a World Series appearance. But I guess it's hard to take into consideration that so many players would either be hurt or terrible or both simultaneously. So I don't really put that much blame at the feet of the front office. It really falls on the players. But I think Ross Atkins, especially with long-term job security with a contract extension, I think he's confident enough in that to know what the state of affair is with this team. And I think it's pretty obvious to everyone that he's got to make some moves subtracting from the roster. It's not going to be a full teardown or fire sale or something like that. But the players that have value, especially the rentals, they're going to be wearing different uniforms at this time next week.
You mentioned Vlad Guerrero. I mean, very simply, how does a guy that, put a team on his back, had this incredible playoff run and cemented himself as, sort of a Jays legend at that time. How did he come into this season and be as bad? He's been basically a black hole in the lineup. I mean, I'm expecting more for him to ground into a double play than I am for him to, get a hit and the homers. I mean, is he still over at the Rogers Center this year?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Make sense. Make sense of it, please.
I don't think there is making sense of it, Huss, to be completely honest. Like, I just don't think that. I wish there was some explanation. Some people will point to, I think he got hit in the back by a pitch at the end of April, and he obviously has missed some time with some back issues. I'd love if that was the reason that he struggled so much, because at least you could chalk it up to injury. But I don't know if we can just say that it's because he's still in the lineup. If it was really that bad, the team is not really in contention. You'd sit him down. You'd put him on the IL, even if it was a quote unquote phantom IL stint to allow him to recalibrate and clear his head or whatever. You do something like that. But I don't think injury is the reason. I don't know I can't make heads or tails of it, because he just, like, even in years past where maybe you would say, oh, well, he doesn't hit for enough power, his process at the plate has always been so good that the floor was just so high. Maybe the ceiling wasn't as high as 2021 suggested it might be, but you were still talking about, like a hitter who was at least 30 or 35% better than league average, because he just put together a good plate appearance basically every time. And that has completely vanished this year. Like, his process is bad. He swings at pitches that he has normally not swung at. He's just, I don't know if it's a psychological thing at this point, but everything that has allowed him to be a consistently really good hitter has abandoned him this season. And it's just like he's wandering in the wilderness with no way out right now. Like, it's like he's stuck in a maze and he can't get out. And I think at this point, you just have to grind it out the rest of the season, hope that he figures something out, and then just hopefully wash your hands of 2026, never speak of it again, and go to work in the off season, in the cage, in the film room, etc. Maybe you need to make some foundational changes to your swing, and see if you can put this behind you and make it more of a footnote than something that could unfortunately be a trend moving forward.
Josh, before we get to trade targets or potential guys to be dealt with the pitching, let's focus in on the position players and the lineup. I know Dalton Varsho, I believe, is an expiring contract.
Yeah.
What when you look at the players that the Blue Jays have, non-pitchers, who are the most attractive assets and the chances or likelihood of them potentially being on the move in your mind?
Yeah, I would say Varsho is the most likely position player to move, even though he's had a really bad year, like as bad of a going into free agency season as you could possibly have. But still, we're talking about somebody with speed, and even if his defense has regressed a bit, he's still a well above average center fielder. There's a place for a player like that on a postseason roster. Does that mean he's going to be a regular, a starter? No, I don't know if I would go as far as to say that. But a bench bat, play situationally, definitely. The price is probably not going to be all that high, but I assume he'll be coveted by a number of teams. George Springer has full no trade power. I think as a 10-5 player, he can veto any trade. And based on everything I see, he's not really being connected to trade talks in the same way. I think that there's an element of respect being given as to, this guy signed here, he wanted to be here. I don't know how much we're necessarily going to get for him. Maybe let him stay put and then see what the future holds, whether he wants to go somewhere else. Maybe you bring him back on a short-term, low-cost type deal. And then position player-wise, beyond that, they don't really have that much. I guess if a team was interested in Nathan Lucas, I think that could be a possibility, because he good bat-to-ball skills, can put together a good at-bat. I think he could be of some value. I'd be curious what kind of price tag the Blue Jays would be looking at. But beyond that, I don't really see anyone that's all that realistic to be on the move, I would say, over the next week.
So where it really gets interesting is the pitching. Gauze has been such a great Blue Jay. In a lot of ways during his time here, has sort of been the heart of that side of the team. The numbers aren't great this year. I think he's sort of been the victim of the team at times as well. And then you got Shane Bieber, who, of course, was the big acquisition last year, opted in for the player option, missed a good period of time. And he's pitching tonight. You can maybe talk about the significance of this on his market, but he's actually coming off 2 really good starts, hasn't pitched a ton. I mean, those 2 guys I would imagine would be at the top of the list for likely players that could be on the move?
Yeah, I think Gosman. I'd be truly stunned if he was not wearing a different uniform next week, because I think he's certainly not the pitcher he was a couple of years ago, but I still think down the stretch he can give you some quality innings towards, at the best case, maybe the middle of your rotation, certainly at the back end of your rotation, and then maybe in a postseason scenario, you see where there's a fit for him. But there will be teams who see like his underlying numbers are better than his actual numbers this season. And that's usually the kind of thing teams look at. Maybe there's an adjustment that they feel as though they can make with him that will allow him to perform a little bit better. But I expect the Jays will get at least one decent prospect for him. Bieber's kind of the reverse because his underlying numbers have been really brutal. He's figuring it out a little bit, but he's still a kind of a precision pitcher who relies on commanding both sides of the plate. And if he's off a little bit, he's extremely hittable. I still think a good start tonight would certainly help. I still imagine there will be teams based on his track record and his ability to still have some level of success that will be interested. But that's a trickier one to me than Gosman, because I think there's a little bit more nuance when it comes to separating reality from expected numbers when it comes to a pitcher like that. But teams are always on the hunt for starting pitchers at this time of the year. So if the Blue Jays want to move one or both of those guys, I don't think there's any real reason to expect that they wouldn't be able to.
No, you sort of touched on Rogers and Varland. I'll be honest, I'd be shocked if those guys were going. Because, I mean, I really do think that if all of a sudden this team started hitting, they would be able to play with anybody. We just don't know whether that's happening right now. But, I mean, just your thoughts on the likelihood, and maybe is there anyone else that we're missing pitching-wise that, teams might kick tires on that, they might consider letting go?
Yeah, I think realistically, Jeff Hoffman, I assume, will generate some interest. I understand it's been really rough this season. When he's been bad, it's been brutal. And we all, unfortunately, remember Game 7 of the World Series. But he still has one of the highest strikeout rates in baseball among any pitcher. And we saw last night in the 8th inning, struck out 3. When he's really good, he's really dominant. And teams like maybe even more than starting pitching help, bullpen help is probably the most coveted asset at the trade deadline. And teams can get a lot for good relief arms. So I assume Jeff Hoffman will have some value, and he might fetch a little bit more than his track record this season would, I guess, warrant. But teams want guys who can miss bats and do have experience pitching in big spots. So I think he is, of the relievers, probably the most likely one to move. And Tyler Rogers, to me, is a really interesting one because he has 2 more years left on his contract. We'll see what happens in 2027 just in the league in terms of how many games are played or not. But he fetched a lot last year as a rental at the deadline. I think he got a big league pitcher and 2 relatively decent prospects. So I think if the Blue Jays really wanted to make a bold move like that, he would be the one I would look at. I would still probably say it's more unlikely than it is likely, but I do think that there is certainly greater than a 0% chance that he is moved. I would still be pretty surprised, but I do think that there is a scenario where an offer is made where the Blue Jays just maybe feel as though it's too hard to pass up on.
It would be the Hoffman, the potential of a Hoffman deal. And I was kind of reading a lot about Hoffman. And listen, the guy's radioactive. It goes back to last year, in Game 7. When he has been bad, he has been terrible this year. And I think back, they got to 500 and then he blew that game and people were losing their minds. But if you actually look, once he's been taken out of the closer's role, talk about those underlying numbers. I mean, they've been some of the best in the league. That might be the best scenario for the Blue Jays. Get Hoffman out of there, get something coming back. You know there won't be a bunch of people picketing the Rogers Center that Jeff Hoffman got traded. I can tell you that for sure. But big picture, what are they looking for? Like, is it just a matter of some prospects and kind of maybe touch on like where are they at prospect wise compared to their contemporaries? Or do they look at a team with a bunch of regulars that haven't been doing the job this year and looking for, some offensive players that they might be able to plug into the lineup for the rest of this season, but most importantly, the next couple?
Yeah, I think they're in a really interesting spot because it's not just a futures play. I think they'd love to get some prospects, but I think they'd like some major league ready talent. And it's tricky if you're only talking about rentals. I just don't know how much impact talent you're getting in return right away. I think in order to secure those types of players, you're going to have to make trades with players that you probably want to keep beyond this season, that are under team control beyond this season, which I'm not sure if I see all that much of happening. I do think that there is a scenario where they do a little bit of both and they bring in some assets and then move some assets out. Maybe some that they feel as though their upside isn't as high currently within their farm system, and identify some pieces that can replace those and then move those out for, like, they need a starting pitcher beyond this season. Like, there are big holes. Besides Cease and Yasavage, they have a lot of question marks in the rotation for 2027 and beyond. So I do think that could be an area that they look at. Shortstop as well. So they're in this spot where I think they're going to try potentially to do both, which is always tricky. But I don't think that this season is going to dissuade them too much from the path that they've been on. I don't think they're all going to say we have to slash a bit of payroll and take a bit of a step back. I think it's going to be, let's get what we can for, the guys that are the obvious trade chips, and then see if there are some areas where we can be nimble and add to this team to help potentially for down the stretch, but really when you're talking about 2027, 2028, and obviously beyond.
Josh, what is how would you categorize the health of the system, the prospects within the Jays system right now?
Pretty solid, like not one of the top systems in the league, but I think on an upward trajectory, certainly. And the biggest reason or reasons for that have been the production and seasons from Jojo Parker and Arjun Nimala. Both had really good years in the low minor leagues. And that kind of helps your top tier level in your system. I think depth is still somewhat of a concern as you kind of look further down the ranks, just in terms of how much quality there is in the system. But I think it's on a bit of an upward trajectory. Like, it was looking pretty lean over the past couple of years. They've really subtracted a lot to push the chips really in to try and make a run at going all the way, but they've done a pretty good job at restocking the cupboards a little bit. And I do think that there is an opportunity for more of that here over the next week, as you're just trying to bring in more kicks at the can, bites at the apple, and as many prospects as you can bring in. Hopefully some of them hit, and it's just kind of like a cycle where you graduate the ones that you feel can make an impact, and then you look to maybe dangle the ones that other teams might view through a different lens than you do, and you're comfortable that we did our work with this particular player. We're comfortable moving away from them if we see an area where we can improve our major league team. And that's what they've largely done a pretty good job at over the past few years. And I expect that that's probably going to be the strategy that they're looking at heading into the deadline and then moving forward.
Johnny Wink City Bender in chat says, I'd love to hear Goldberg's take on the American League being so trash this year. Why wouldn't the Jays be more a buyer than a seller? Only 5 games back of a wild card spot. I know you sort of touched on that earlier, but I mean, it is just, I guess at the end of the day, Josh, it's pretty tough to have much faith in a complete turnaround based on what we've seen for 3/4 of the season.
Yeah, I get where that thought is coming from, but I just don't think you're doing anyone a service by just like burying your head in the sand and saying, oh, well, it's bound to turn. We're, well into the second half of the season, and they're 9-10 games under 500. They haven't been a good baseball team this season. So just betting on a turnaround because there's just no way that they could be this bad all season, that's just not a strategy that I think I would be comfortable with. I don't think fans should be comfortable with. I don't think the front office is going to be comfortable with. I just don't think that's how you operate. I think more than anything, you should be more upset with the way that this season has unfolded, because there was such an opening for the Blue Jays if they had just played relatively decent baseball to be firmly in a playoff spot, and they've dropped the ball. So I'm not rewarding that level with faith and investment. I'm still selling, like I said, the rentals, and let the chips fall where they may down the stretch. And if the guys who are here want to start playing better and turn things around, then it's on them to do so. But I don't think I'd be parting with futures for a team that's 5 games back with 4 or 5 teams to jump over the last 2 months of the season.
Hey, before we go, I wanted to ask you about Dylan Cease. He has had, just such an incredible season from that first start. We have seen guys like Zach Greinke win a Cy Young with, a 500 record on a terrible team. What are the realistic chances of Dylan Cease potentially winning the Cy Young, and what would it take? What needs to happen during the final, whatever they have, 50 games?
I think there's a reasonable chance. Like last I checked, Cam Schlittler's the favorite, but he's not an overwhelming favorite like Mizorowski is in the National League. So I think, baseball happening over the next couple of months. Cease continues pitching well, cuts the walks a little bit, because I do think that might hurt his case a little bit, because Schlittler really doesn't walk anyone. But if Schlittler falters and Cease continues pitching the way that he has the last couple weeks, certainly when you think of the 2 starts, Boston and San Francisco, anything approaching like that level, and Schlittler regresses somewhat, he sort of has since an insane start to the season, then I do think that there is a pathway for Cease. He's got him in the strikeout department by a pretty wide margin. Like I said, the walks might be a sore spot for some voters, but I do really think that there is a pathway for it. And I would say they're pretty much the race right now. It's those two, barring something unforeseen, and anything can happen over the next couple of months, and it wouldn't shock me if we sit here in November or whenever it is, and Dylan Cease is ultimately the guy who takes home the Cy Young.
Josh, great stuff. Fill people in on what's cooking over at the DFA podcast during what's always a big week in the majors, regardless of what team you cheer for.
Yeah, I'm going to get some trade deadline preview thoughts together, some I guess possible scenarios that might make some sense, and then obviously once the trade deadline's in the books, I'll be on to recap it. So obviously you always want to be talking about buying at this time of the year, but these are still times that are going to shape the future of the franchise, which to me are always fascinating conversations. So even though it's not the one that I was hoping to have, I still think that there's plenty to be gained from kind of breaking down moves that will have impact well beyond just this season.
Josh, thanks so much for doing this, pal. Always appreciate you jumping on with us.
Anytime, Huss. Good to talk to you.
Good stuff. At JGoldberg12 on X, the DFA podcast. That is Josh Goldberg. All right. Wiebe is going to join us in just a minute. Of course, big Bomber game on Thursday. Folks, if you are in the market for some new Bomber gear, looking for a hoodie, a t-shirt, a jersey, a hat, head on down to Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway. Got an amazing selection of Blue Bomber gear, including many exclusives that you will not find anywhere else. Can say the same thing about their Jets merchandise, which is getting filled up with 61s. Vigo Bjork is signed, sealed, and delivered. He'll make his debut this year. Vigo Bjork 61s also being made at Royal. They've got you covered for the best in licensed merchandise. New NFL stuff coming in right now. Of course, Major League Baseball. Not to mention the best in soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, running, the biggest hockey department in town, and a massive bike department as well, including e-bikes if you're in the market. It's all waiting for you at one spot, Winnipeg's ultimate sports superstore for over 50 years. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Make sure to follow them on Instagram for the latest merchandise drops, sale information, and we should be getting another tent sale coming in once we get through August. Big stretch of games for the Goldeyes coming up at home, starting on Friday night. And Friday is, of course, the alternate identity night. The Manitoba Mosquitoes. Everyone's been loving the merch for the Manitoba Mosquitoes. Well, the fish will be wearing those Mosquitoes jerseys and lids for the game on Friday night, which kicks off a full week at home. It's been a while since we've had the Goldeyes home for a full week. August long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Off Monday, which is perfect. Big day at the track that day for the Manitoba Derby. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week as well. Tickets on sale. Get them digitally. Goldeyes.com/tickets. Get them in your phone. Quick and easy entry. And then you'll be eating, drinking, and cheering on the fish in the middle of this beautiful Manitoba summer down at Blue Cross Park. Speaking of this Manitoba summer, if you are planning an adventure, head on over and start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. If you're looking for ideas on the go, follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. Or if you prefer a personal touch, stop by the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. Assiniboine Downs is back tonight. We will get to our picks a little bit later on, and we will have Darren Dunn join us on Friday before the Manitoba Derby runs on Monday. But right now, let's welcome in our good friend Ken Wiebe, who's been very busy, normally chasing pucks and hockey players, doing a little bit of the football beat this week. Weber, what's going on? How are you?
Doing well, Huss. Great to be with you as always. Yes, closed practice today, so Taylor Allen on site at Princess Auto, but was there yesterday gathering a bunch of information for stories on the offensive identity of the Bombers in today's paper, and had some leftovers from the speaking with Jordan Younger and obviously Ontario Wilson with the one of the highlight reel plays of the season in the CFL. Wrote about that here this afternoon here. So, yeah, all is well. Should be an interesting one on Thursday. Have you ever
covered a closed practice? Like, I've always wondered that. Like, I'm not able to get down there because I'm here.
Yes.
Is that just the easiest day of work? I mean, the media just sit and sit around each other and then just go to the presser for 15?
Well, you're not really allowed in the building really until closer to the end. I think usually the closed practice is already over by the time we're meeting.
The media just goes to Nicolino's, hangs out with a nice chicken farm sandwich, and then heads over to the stadium.
Yes, that's sort of the idea. Yes, when I went to one earlier this year, you show up around 1:40 and go to downstairs, and then it's a classic hurry up and wait. But yeah, it was pretty efficient on the last one. But guessing the biggest news we're kind of waiting for is it looked like Broxton would be out based on the the heavy wrap on his leg yesterday, which opens the door for Vanderkooth over at tackle. It looked like, but again, the one thing about the closed practice is that Stanley Bryant wasn't really a participant yesterday. Neither were Dembski or Oliveira, but we assume that those are more maintenance type of days. That's the one thing I can transfer over from the hockey side of things, Huss. The old maintenance day is really a thing in football as well. So expecting those three guys to be available, but Broxton did not look like he would be good to go. But again, we'll see what happens. Mike O'Shea is always very optimistic when it comes to injuries, but all signs pointing in a new right tackle situation for this week's game against the BC Lions before the Bombers head out for their second bye week.
Oh, she could have a guy in a full body cast and say, "Hey, is he playing? Well, is he on the team?"
I'm
Then
gonna
he's
wait. I'm gonna wait.
possible.
I'm gonna wait. I won't rule him out until the Yes, exactly. We'll see when the good old depth charts come out in the morning. But yeah, I mean, interesting couple of days, Huss. I mean, I know I was just getting back from BC from the trip to Kelowna with the TSN folk there. Who all send their best to you, Huss, including Dennis Bayak. Great to be on the course with him for 4 days in a
I
row.
want to
along
get
with,
to that little trip with you in a minute. But
yes,
I
but yes,
appreciate that.
sorry, I missed the game, but I caught a good chunk of it while my flight was delayed by several hours. It allowed me to check out the game on the old tube and first 50 burger since 2015. Probably not the way that you drew it up or the Bombers drew it up either. But
No,
yeah,
listen, let me ask you this, because I mean, you were there and you wrote about it today in the Free Press.
Yeah.
I mean, coming out, I'm not sure whether you heard the quotes. You probably did. I mean, Brady on OB after the game was.
Oh, that was what I was writing about, Huss. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, like that offensive identity. What exactly is it? I mean, that often happens when you're changing coordinators moving forward, but it was pretty clear that I think they wanted to get more out of the pass game. I mean, the running game isn't quite where it has been before, and the pass game has really been hot and cold. To be honest, the thing that I thought Tommy Condell boiled a lot of it down to was accurate and just ball security, being able to hold on to the football. And, Drew Brown's really pushed some throws when they've been down late in games, and it hasn't gone well for the team. But, I mean, you were around there yesterday. You wrote about it in the Freep today. And you spoke with a number of people, and it's interesting on the perspective. You talked to an O-lineman, talked to a receiver, talked to a running back. Everyone's got their different focus, or maybe their different outlook on it, if you will.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, also too, it's interesting, right? Because Mike O'Shea prefers to speak in generalities and, talking about how, you have to adapt the plan to basically, and Drew Brown saying you're adapting your plan based on the opponent. So, and Patrick Neuville saying, no, we are a balanced attack. And Condell is an interesting cat, Huss, right? So I don't pretend to know him well enough to be, digging deep inside the brain of his. And, you always want to have context before you make these big general sweeping observations. So, Condell obviously stuck with most of the coach speak. I mean, he wasn't interested in saying, I would have called things differently. And if he did feel that way, he made it abundantly clear to us folks in the media that he would be telling that to the players and the coaches, but not to us. So it was an interesting exchange there. My colleague Mike McIntyre, he liked the subtleties of the way that I said the offensive coordinator sounded a bit defensive. I mean, it was interesting, right? I mean, Condell obviously knows a lot more about calling plays than I do, so I'm not going to be saying here, hey man, what are you doing? At the same time, you want to sort of get into the philosophical thinking of how you can go from Brady having his longest run of his career to basically not touching the ball for the remainder of the game. Like, you don't have to run. I'm not saying you should have ran the ball 20 more times, but given his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, it's hard to believe that he wasn't leaned on a little bit more heavily. And again, I totally get the analytics and, air it out is your best chance to eliminate a big deficit. But I mean, I would have liked to have heard Tommy Condell, get a little bit more into the whys of the situation rather than, saying, kind of making it sound like I know better than you, so maybe kind of stand down a little bit, Huss. But again, like I said, I'm here to learn. I love listening to coaches talk. I enjoy Mike O'Shea's perspective. He was very good yesterday in explaining a bunch of different things, and he basically said we got to be good at everything. But Huss, to the point of what Brady was saying, I think it's a little bit odd that as you're approaching the midway point of a CFL season, that a team like the Bombers doesn't really appear to have its identity a little bit more, concrete, if you will, right? I think Pokey Wilson saying it's kind of like a working piece of art right now. That identity is definitely a work in progress. And, it certainly helps when you have one of the best running backs in the CFL, if not the best. But, it seems like he needs to get the ball in his hands a little bit more often. Like I said, either in the passing game or in the running game. But I mean, I also understand the flip side of that is that the Bombers have used 4 quarterbacks this year, Huss, and their offensive line has been a little bit in transit, if you will, due to kind of in-game injuries, late scratches, and sort of those things. So like, I can also understand why they're not pounding the pill 35 times either. I mean, I'm not saying that's the right way either, but and Huss, the ultimate thing there, as Condell mentioned, when you've had 8 fumbles and lost 5, and you've also had 8 interceptions in 7 games, it also makes sense that the aerial attack is not necessarily what you're hanging your hat on either. So best way to describe it, the Bombers are a 4-3 football team going into a big game against the BC Lions, who will start first CFL start going into the bye week. This is the kind of it's a got to have it type of situation for them as they try to establish that identity. And Huss, we know this. We've been, anyone who covers the CFL knows that the season starts at Labor Day, but you also don't want to be digging yourself a big hole prior to Labor Day, meaning that you got to go on this crazy heater in order to be, a playoff team or maybe hosting a playoff game. So
you know who wishes the season starts at Labor Day? Buck Pierce.
Fair.
And Ryan Dinwiddie right now.
Yes, fair enough.
On that point, and I mean, I do get it. Brady had that great 45-yard run. I mean, I think a big part of that was the formation, the defense.
For sure.
They played. They were so wide out. And Condell correctly pointed out a couple of good blocks from receivers downfield. But, that fourth quarter, and so much has been made of like, why wasn't Brady getting the ball till so late? Well, I mean, they have the big sack. They get the ball at the end of the third quarter. And then, they 2 incompletions, kick a field goal. The next 2 times they got the ball, Drew Brown threw a pick on the first play. So, I mean, they just basically didn't have the ball. And at that point, when you've got so little time, you're really against. I mean, I will say this in his defense. I think score effects was a big part of that. But They got themselves in that hole. And the bottom line is more. I mean, you look at Brady's numbers for that game. He had 12 or 14 128 2 touchdowns. So it does beg the question, can you get him more? And obviously that fourth quarter, I mean, the offensive line was really beaten up as well. So it'll be interesting. Well, after we speak, we're going to hear a little bit from the defensive side of things, which I think was concerning as well with Jordan Younger. Let's move. Oh, sorry.
And very frank. Jordan was quite frank, right? And in his assessment, I was involved in that scrum yesterday too, Huss, and it's not often you only need one word repeated twice to describe a certain play where tackling sort of doesn't happen. I mean, when he said disgust, I thought he actually meant was discussed, like as in discussed on the sidelines. And then when he repeated himself, I was like, oh, disgust with a G. I was like, whoa, okay. It was one of those moments where you kind of had to perk the ears up a little bit. And, this was like genuine frustration from a coach who, they take a lot of pride in their defense. Nobody wants to be giving up 50 burgers. And again, we know it's not all on the defense when you're turning the ball over as often as the Bombers have and having some special teams issues piled on to that. But, I mean, the Bombers lead the CFL in sacks. It's been ages, it feels like, since you've been able to say that. Jake Serezna and Willie Jefferson playing at an absolute elite level, 5 sacks apiece of the 15. But they're giving up so much on the ground and so much through the air, which is kind of surprising given how things have gone for, a good chunk of the Mike O'Shea era when the defense was their calling card, the whole bend but don't break. And there have been flashes of it, Huss, as Younger pointed out. But there's just been so much inconsistency in terms of schematic play, blown coverage, explosives, not really being able to win the turnover battle or create enough turnovers. And just it's just been strange, Huss. There have been times where they look like they'll never give up another point. I mean, stop deep in the zone, turning the ball over, making big plays, but then they give up a bunch of things in the secondary that, again, and for the casual fan, just because the guy's the closest to the player in the frame doesn't mean it was his blown coverage to begin with, right? I mean, this is the beauty of football. In hockey, when there's a guy that's chasing a guy on a breakaway, you can generally tell whose fault it is. In football, when you got the 12 men on the field in CFL game, there might be a blown coverage in the second level, and the safety somehow gets himself in the frame, but it wasn't really his responsibility to begin with. So either way, the Bombers got to be better on defense, Huss. They've got to be better on offense. They got to have better ball security. And I think that's what frustrated Jordan Younger the most, Huss, is that he said the issues are familiar. It's not like it's 1 week you're having trouble against the run, 1 week you're having trouble against the pass, 1 week you're having, trouble against both. They've just had the kind of errors that are correctable, but are happening a little bit too frequently. And again, this is a new system, and they have a lot of guys coming in and out, and schemes where you got guys coming in different positions. But at the same time, you have to know what your responsibilities are in those positions. Otherwise, you're getting the busted coverages that have led to a lot of offense against, which we're not used to seeing around these parts.
Kenny, let's move over to the pucks for a minute. Just saw on IC from our pal Dave Manouk that Alphonse Frey is coming overseas. He will not play the final 2 years of his deal in the SHL, and is making the move. He, of course, was that second round selection that was part of the LA trade. Joined the team at the end of the year. Played a couple games, not much. I don't think he got in the playoffs at all. What do we know about Alphonse Frey other than he's a second rounder? And I guess he was World Juniors as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, sir. Yes.
Got some considerable power play time, I think, at the World Junior team that won the title. And I totally, this is the thing, Huss, that you always have to sort of remind folks, like, he didn't have a ton of eye-popping numbers, but he was playing in the men's league as a young player, right? So people will look, this guy can't be a great prospect. He doesn't have a ton of points. He's not dominating for 35, 45 points, but this guy's a really good puck mover, Huss, really good skater, heads up kind of guy. I think he defends pretty well. I think good two-way player. He's going to need some time to mature in the North American game with the Manitoba Moose, obviously, as we mentioned. But yeah, this is a guy that the Jets are excited about. Second round picks. You need them to hit if you're a team like the Winnipeg Jets. So Alphonse didn't get any of the playoff games, but I think he had a couple outings late in the year where he sort of started to show what he was made of. He's one of these guys like Sasha Boumedian, who will be playing one more year in the NCAA, and a guy like Garrett Brown, who's graduating, from the University of Denver to turn pro here. He did get a couple playoff games in. It's a little bit of a younger defense core for part of the Manitoba Moose blue line, but there's some guys that have some, good potential, and I think just need a little bit of seasoning time. And once that occurs, and then we'll start making assessments on whether it's 2 or 3 years down the road that they're pushing for NHL position. At this point, Huss, it's up to those players to kind of force their way into the equation. But I think these are guys who are going to need some seasoning now. But again, I think they project to be NHL players, both Brown and Frey. And, now it's a matter of, the development part of those guys turning pro and, starting to get their feet wet and get used to playing.
Hey, speaking of development, I'll be honest, I thought that maybe after this past year, we might see some changes with the Moose, whether it be coaching. You're tied into the organization. You talk to people. Is there a level of concern as to what's been happening in Manitoba really over the last number of seasons? But the lack of offense, you look at the numbers of what some of the top prospects have done. Where do you think they are right now with what's happening? Is it organizational? Is it Mark Morrison? Has it just been the players not fulfilling their end of the bargain? Can you make sense of just how much that team has struggled? And while they did do better this year as a team and made the playoffs, certainly we did not have a lot to talk about when it came to the top young, the top prize prospects of the team playing in the American League, certainly compared to their contemporaries around the league.
Yeah, Huss, super interesting. I think if it was a concern within the organization, a change would have been made, Huss, right? That's the other thing. Again, we talked about this before. I don't know that there, I think that they really like the coaching staff, but I don't know that there's a logical successor. at the stage of the game. But at the same time, I think that the way that the Moose played in the playoffs, and yes, we know that their offense struggled, Huss, but I mean, they kind of held a juggernaut Grand Rapids team, to a pretty tidy defensive effort. They didn't really give up a whole lot. And yes, some of that was Dom DiVincentis playing extremely well, but defensively, they played a sound two-way kind of game.
They just can't score. They
weren't able to score, right? And I think Morgan Klimchuk's done a really good job as an assistant coach. Again, I'm not around their team enough to know when he may be ready to take the next step as a head coach. But I think he's a well-respected guy. He's got great experience. I mean, he has the, having dealt with the fresh pressure of being a number one or a first round draft pick. But then, kind of bouncing around a bit, dealing with injuries. I think he would have seen he would understand all of the roles available. But I think that Mark Morrison, I think the team believes that he's done a good job with those prospects. And Huss, I mean, it's always a combination of things, right? But a lot of it, I think it's too easy to just say, oh, it's the coach's fault. I mean, obviously players have to, do the things that are required as well. But it's something that has to be done in a harmonious nature. And yeah, I mean, now the true test is going to be happening now, Huss, right? Because they're going to have to graduate some players first, and B, there is a new crop and a new wave of prospects coming into the pool that the Jets are going to need those guys to hit. Kieran Walton, Kevin He, guys like that. Can Colby Barlow take the next step? Is Braden Yager going to either force his way into an NHL job, or will he be a dominant top six center with the Moose this year? And can he take that big step offensively that most young prospects that are top prospects have to take in order to get to the next level? And that's the other part. The goaltending, we talked about it. It was excellent in the playoffs. Milic was the team MVP, but based on what's going on right now, I mean, I think that Dom DiVincentis had such a strong playoff. He's going to want to push for more starts. You're going to have some really good internal competition between those two guys. I think they're going to share the crease, obviously, but who's getting a few more starts, that will be determined by how well those guys play as well. But I think they're moving into a really not a transformative phase, but Huss, I think that this next wave is going to be incredibly important for the Jets, because we know that as a team with a bunch of core players who are between 29 and 33 going into the season, you're going to start to need to add those ELC players, and not just add them to the lineup. Those guys eventually are going to have to become impactful players for the Jets to get back to being a contender with some regularity here. So it's obviously an important time for all aspects of the organization. But yeah, I mean, the Moose having an important year, and where there's a lot of growth from A, the prospects who have been in the system playing professionally, and B, those players who are coming into the organization at the pro level. I mean, I think it's definitely crucial for the development path, both in the present and for the future here coming up, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder, because obviously, when Chevy and all those guys are talking, it's always about the big club. But you mentioned these new prospects coming in. There's a bunch of new guys in here. I mean, just from the outside looking in, I mean, you hope that they can figure out a way to get a lot more out of, have some more success as a team. But also, I do wonder about, a bit of a confidence crisis for some of these players that come in with really high hopes, and then, you struggle through seasons the way they had offensively. I mean, they're all hockey players. I mean, you want to have that good feeling about, scoring goals and doing things well. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, professional sports is about winning. The American Hockey League is a little different, though. I mean, it's first and foremost, at least from the NHL team's perspective, it's about, putting your prospects in positions to succeed, having them grow, and then having them ready to play. And maybe that is happening. We just haven't seen a lot of it, partly because of the veteran nature of the team for the last couple of years. But I would suggest that this year, absolutely crucial for a lot of people involved in the Moose operation because of what you said. Some new players this year, presumably some new players this year, and certainly wanting to get better results than we have seen recently, both on the ice and in producing NHL-ready players for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, for sure, Huston. I mean, the counter to that, or the other side of the coin, is that, I mean, the reason why they brought a bunch of veterans in was to help insulate those players So there's a balance between needing to lean on them enough to have their offensive skills show through and shine, while also having players around that can help lighten the load when you're playing a 3-3 or a 4-5, and maybe the 20-year-old who's just getting into it is maybe feeling a bit run down. So you got to you want to be able to lean on some of those veterans as well, Huss. So, and the other part of it too. I mean, we know that systemically that you need to. A lot of these offensive guys need to work on their defensive games when they get to the professional level. And the American Hockey League is a league where, yes, there are more mistakes and the game is more chaotic, but if you can show that you can, take care of your defensive responsibilities, then you're going to get your opportunities. So Braden Yager, great example, Huss. He didn't have 65, 75 points for the Moose, but because he was a strong two-way player, the Jets trusted him enough to be recalled late in the year and get a taste of what is to come for him in the future, whether that's this fall or down the road. So it's always a bit of a fine balance, and it's always an interesting thing to monitor. Again, you look back at we talked about Mason Appleton a lot over the years, Huss. I mean, Mason Appleton was the Rookie of the Year in the American Hockey League and put up a ton of points, and that didn't necessarily translate to eye-popping NHL numbers either. So you play to your role, do a good job, and at the end of the day, don't cheat for offense, Huss. That's the other big part. You want to see guys put up good numbers. But if they're doing it by cheating for offense, you're not going to have that offense be sustainable at the NHL level. So sometimes it's a little deeper than just the stats.
I just think there's some. I mean, listen, I'll even take the prospects out of it. I mean, I think about a guy like Fagemo, Sam Fagemo. I mean, 2 years ago, he had 43 goals in 50 games.
Yep.
Last year, or the year before last, had 29 and 67, and then plays 72 in a big-time role with the Moose.
Yeah.
And has 19. I mean, it's not just an isolated incident with one player. But again, I mean, maybe this goes back to the focus on defense that started when Rick Bowness came and took over. I mean, defensively, they've been good, and they're certainly helping their young goaltenders out. But as I said, give us plenty of time to talk about as we go. Now, Ken, tell us about hooking up with the fellas out in BC. How's Dennis? Kevin was there too?
Yeah, it was his. We were at his place in Christina Lake for the bulk of it. So yeah, it was
beautiful.
great.
And
Kevin Pratt, the TSN
How
producer.
are the boys doing? How are the rounds?
Boys are doing great. The rounds were great. Tied for the gold medal. Dennis and I won the team game. Huss, happy to report. It was very tight right to the very end, but lots of fun. Squeezed one into the 70s there. Huss 70, 79 in one of the games. So there were a couple cough ups, but a couple hairballs at inopportune times. But overall, had a lot of laughs, and Kevin had the boat out, and it's a beautiful part of the world. So it was. Dennis was making sure to send his regards. He's on an Alaskan cruise right now, or going on an Alaskan cruise this week. But
he said he was going there. Okay, that's happening right now.
Yeah, it's happening. Yes, he's fired up, and played Christina Lake Golf Course, and then also Dennis lives on Shannon Lake Golf Course. So we had a great day there on the Friday. They had the Canada Games event going on after we were done. Dennis was emceeing that on Saturday night, but. Two great courses, lots of laughs, lots of great food, and lots of time hopping in the lake, which was super great.
A big long weekend coming up. I assume you'll be making the trek down to US Bank Stadium for WWE SummerSlam.
Huss, it's funny. When I took my dad a couple of years ago, they had it up on the board already, promoting it like a year and a half ago. So I will be leaving the SummerSlam to those who enjoy it a little bit more than me. But again, if there was a time when the Macho Man was maybe going up against maybe the Mega Powers were in a tag team event, I might have been able to get in the car and make the trek. But
Brock Lesnar, Hell in a Cell, could
love
be
it. It would be it's a big event. I've been watching a lot of the A&E specials. Huss, watched one on the Road Warriors a couple weeks ago, which was really fascinating to see what happened.
I saw that one too.
Unreal, like just to see how things kind of. And then again, knowing the Animal's son was an NFLer, like sort of there's a lot of interesting history surrounding said sport.
You know what's funny about that one? And like my recollection as a kid of the Road Warriors, I always thought that Animal was like the alpha, the cool guy, and Hawk was just sort of the guy.
Right.
I had no idea like the dynamic between those two, and how. I mean, he was sort of the alpha. He was the one guy that had his bleep together, and Hawk was just an absolute train wreck.
Hawk was the animal, Huss, as it turned out,
yes.
which is kind of wild as you look at it.
Good way of putting it. And just quickly before we go, fully recover the hand, which cost you so many valuable days at the beginning of the golf season, is back. You're not having to take off days after playing, are you? Or is it?
No, it's feeling good, Huss. It's helping with the grip pressure for sure. Had a chance to get out to St. Charles Country Club on the weekend too, Huss. So nice to see them. I am full disclosure, I am one of the voters for the Score 100, and great to see. We know we've got so many great courses, but nice to see some Manitoba representation in the course as well. And Huss, we know that the Manitoba Senior is going on right now for men and women, and the golf community and the community at large really thinking about Rhonda Orr, who was unable to defend her title here with some health concerns, but Rhonda doing well. Mike caught up with her yesterday, and a lot of people thinking of her this week as well as she deals with that health scare, but she's also looking forward to being back on the course here soon, and should be a fantastic Wednesday at Breezy Bend, Huss, as the men and women sort of try to chase down that title.
Yeah, you know it. The Breezy hosting the Senior, and how about this? I'm just pulling this up. Evan Nachtigal.
Oh yes, Evan. Yes. Huge day at the Canadian Am.
Under yesterday at Mickelson National Golf Club in Calgary to lead our region on the leaderboard in the Canadian Men's Amateur Championship. And 6 birdies on the day. He's T12 on the leaderboard. That is, the talent in this country of golfing at an amateur level is phenomenal. There's so many young players that are going down to the States, that are playing college golf, they come back. And Elmhurst has had the Breezy guy is so fired up that they won the Monday Putter this year as the 4th seed. Yes. But Elmhurst has been just a wrecking crew, and it's been a lot of the young, talented players. And, that's going to be something we're going to need to keep a very close eye on over the next couple days, as about a dozen of the players, including 4 Elmhurst golfers, including Nachtigal, playing out there in the Canadian Am.
And then speaking of Elmhurst, Huss, Angela Martins is at the lead of the women's, I think, and little known nugget, Angela Martins of Altona, Manitoba, played her golf growing up at Oakview, home course of said Ken Wiebe Jr. also. So
yes, and where is Oakview? Is the Altona?
Just outside, Gretna, just outside of Gretna, so near the U.S. border. Fun little 9-holer for the folks who haven't checked it out. It's usually in fantastic shape, and hopefully be getting out there with Terry Brown, our high school phys ed teacher and coach of many sports, in the next couple weeks here. It's an annual event.
Now that you're a voter, and you are probably the best guy to have on the voting panel for the Score Top 100, and certainly with the focus on Manitoba, I would like to get Ken Wiebe back on for a special of the Wiebe's World Top Manitoba courses. That would be a great. Do you have a number one?
Well, I think we're just so blessed. There's so many. Huss, it's hard. I got a lot of number 1A to Fs, basically. So there's so many great designers. Some folks don't know. I did the story last year with the restoration at St. Charles. Winnipeg has the only 9 holes designed by Alistair Mackenzie in the country of Canada. And for those who don't know, Mackenzie is the guy who designed Augusta, among many other tracks. So I lost so many Donald Ross great tracks, Elmhurst, Pine Ridge. We're lucky to have some Stanley Thompson influence courses around too, whether it be by him or his apprentice, Mr. Woods as well. So so many great courses. Depends on kind of the year and the conditioning, but whether it's Granite Hills or Clear Lake or Falcon, we were so lucky with so many great tracks, and so many of the courses around town. Huss have been making so many great renovations and upgrades, like Breezy, their ability to get the upgrades going. Elmhurst will host the Manitoba Open. I think Glendale is on deck there. So just so many. Are
you going to try to qualify for the Open?
No, sir. We're not quite there yet. But I said to my old boss, Markham, who's now working over at the Free Press, he's playing in the Senior this week. So at 51 currently, at 55, I hope to be good enough to play in the Manitoba Senior. But I don't know that we'll get into the Mid-Am Huss maybe before 55, but hopefully tracking. If we can, happy to report, I benched the Phantom X putter in favor of the Delmar Scotty at St. Charles for the first time this year, and I went from 41 putts at Shannon Lake to 34 at St. Charles. So hopefully we can keep something more in that 30 to 34 range and kind of keep the scores in the high 70s or low 80s here.
Yeah,
but,
Dr. Terry, Glendale's the best course because 2 holes in one round. How can Glendale not be number one on the list?
Well, it's hard to argue with that. It has the crazy part was, Kevin brought it up with a few of his friends out in Christina Lake, and we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary, Huss, coming up in August 16th, I believe, 2016, the wild Glendale day with
it would be wild.
With KO, Jim Toth, and Leah. We might have to have an anniversary round at Glendale or something.
You know what would be incredible, and I don't know whether this is whether we have it, because we have some of our old stuff from TSN and a lot of stuff, but
that day
we could have listening to me on the air breaking that news. It's honest to God, there's few things I would love to listen to more than that. Like starting off with a warm up with me going, oh my God, Ken got a hole in one. We're never going to hear the end of this, but this is amazing. Shout out Wiebe. And then at about 5:30, towards the end of the afternoon ride, getting that thing, you're not going to believe this. It happened again. Still, honest to God, the most incredible thing that has ever happened to anyone I know.
Oh, boy.
It is the odds of it are like winning a lottery. And that was, I've always said, I mean, I really want 2 things in life. If I get these 2 things, I'll be happy. A hole in one, the Jets to win the cup. And I mean, I hope I don't go 0 for 2 for my entire life. That's all I'll say. Either one I will take.
I love it. And you'll love this too, based on what we're just discussing. So Shannon Lake on Friday, I had one where I almost it landed literally like 3 inches right of where the flag was, like almost a full jug, like not even, it wouldn't have touched the pin. It would have been landed right in the cup, but it was just beside and kind of rolled out to the fringe. But there was definitely some get in, and it felt a little bit like deja vu for like a fleeting moment, Huss. But anyways, fun to laugh and talk about, and think about. That was a pretty wild day, and feel very fortunate and blessed to have had one at all, and the fact that we're sitting on 4 and trying to fire at flags for a 5th is just another great example of why we love the sport as much as we did. No, not at all. No, nothing to do with the great Huss. No, it's there's a lot of luck involved, because you can hit a perfect shot a lot of time and not even be close to the flag. So I had to get lucky.
Oh man, great convo, buddy. Keep hitting them straight and firing at pins. We'll look forward to catching up with you next week, and have a great long weekend.
You too, my friend. Take care. Cheers.
Good stuff. Fun stuff with Kenny Wiebe. You know what? Let's do a little additional why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly McGillivray. Would love to know what everyone's favorite course is in Manitoba. And I mean, maybe if you want, I always kind of separate these into the city. Like if you're golfing kind of in Winnipeg or just outside it, as well as around the province. Because as Ken mentioned, I've been lucky enough to be Granite Hills, one of my favorites. Love Grand Pines. Clear Lake's always a treat when we're out there. The Oak Island, to me, one of the hidden gems of the entire province, just out by Verdun. So all you golfers, fire away. Arneson's, yeah. I don't think Arneson's, that was quite the spot back in the day. Anyways, great stuff with Ken. We just did a little bit of a Breezy Bend golf update there with Ken, but we'll remind you that Ken wasn't joking. I mean, the work that they've done on that golf course, on the clubhouse, the new patio, there's a reason why it's been as busy and healthy as it's been for the last many years. Corey does just an unbelievable job of running the place. So if you are looking for a great home for you and maybe your family, at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, head over to Breezy Bend and go to breezybend.ca for more information on membership for the upcoming year. Also, got to shout out our friends at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. I know Pitt and the gang have had a great summer. Did see, I think I mentioned this last week, they had a mid-August cancellation, so like a prime August date that has opened up. Previously, they were full basically till the end of the year. So if you are thinking about maybe getting away and looking at world-class fishing and world-class hospitality at a fly-in lodge you can be at in a couple hours from Winnipeg, Aikens is the spot. You can find out more at aikenslake.com or hit them up at Aikens Lake on any of the social channels for more information on that. And if you do, tell them you heard it on WST. Pitt will hook you up with the 10% discount for that. We got to get to Cool Bet Lines. We got to get to our picks for the track. I'm looking forward to a bunch of the feedback on our favorite golf course question. It's all making me thirsty. So let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's get Remo back in here. We've got some work to do. That was a fun chat with. Although you know what we should do, Reem, a little bit of Jordan Younger because we sort of teased that with Ken before we got off the Bomber topic. We heard from Tommy Condell, but needless to say, Jordan Younger was a guy that a lot of people wanted to talk to as well after the game on Friday night.
Yeah, so, I had heard the clip, so it was funny hearing Ken say he said they discussed the offense, but no, he said it disgusted was what he said about the defense, not the offense. So
here, before we get to that stuff, and you can keep your answers coming for the your favorite golf course around here. Let's go to Jordan Younger. This is from yesterday, breaking down what he saw from his defense against the Calgary Stampeders.
Familiar in the sense that, some of the same issues have caused us some issues earlier in the season. The explosion plays, we had a drop coverage where we, miscommunication on who's supposed to be doing what job, who's supposed to cover the running back out of the backfield. When I look at it, right, I see just incomplete games. You see these flashes where we're really solid, really good, and then, hats off to Calgary for, being dynamic enough to kind of being able to change their style. They can, be a long ball offense, and they can turn around and pound the ball on you, running it. And then, this last game, more of a possession style offense where they're getting the ball out quick throws, and we just didn't adjust quick enough.
All right, so there's Younger's thoughts on Friday's game. Here's Younger, what steps do they need to undergo to get closer to the level that he expects from the Blue Bomber defense?
Experience as a group, chemistry as a group, understanding, again, we're running some new stuff, right? Understanding how it's supposed to work against what our opponent is doing, right? We make a game plan based off of what our opponent has put on film. If they change or they do something different, we got to be able to recognize it quicker.
How much did you miss Retta?
You can't. It's really hard to quantify how much you miss. You miss his individual plays. He's good for a few plays a game himself, but there's so many times that he may help somebody else make a play. One of the strongest aspects of his skill set is play recognition. So he understands what opponents do, what they're about to do, and then call it out. He knows within the system, hey, such and such, right? They're about to do this. And then, that's 5-6 times a game, easy, right? Where he helps somebody else make a play that they didn't see that they didn't know they were going to have to make. So, again, really hard to quantify, but we did miss them.
All right, a little bit more on, and yeah, Cramdy is a tough loss for the Bomber defense. He, of course, was right there for that winning play against Ottawa and then unable to play last week. This is now onto the shoulders of Younger and what he can do to get it up. Here's just asked on what he can do as a coach to help them get to where this team wants and needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, always no excuses. Like, it's a short week, and you're playing an offense that's that dynamic. You just don't have enough time to cover, all the bases in in a normal week, let alone on one day. And you just try to cover as much as you can and hope that, again, the players are able to recognize and or play through the things that, we weren't able to cover. And this week we weren't.
And then for this week, there's kind of a mystery about who might play quarterback for them. How does that impact your preparation?
Just awareness. Like, you got to understand, okay, we don't know what they're going to do, who they're going to play. They have injuries at the receiver position, injuries at the quarterback position. They've been rolling different guys in. And because of that, you just got to be really sharp with understanding who's in the game, who's at the position they're normally at, who's playing a new position, because that's where all the information is that'll help you anticipate what the offense is going to do.
All right, so there's Jordan Younger, not particularly pleased with the overall performance. They're going to need to be good. They're going to need to be better, but they are going to be going up against a rookie quarterback, Kane Slider, who's getting his first start, Remis, for the BC Lions, which I think really echoes the desperation coming out of Vancouver for Buck Pierce's squad.
Yeah, they've really faltered here. Even before the Nathan Rourke injury wasn't going well. A lot of concerns with the defense there, but the offense, the BC is tied, one less point than Ottawa has this season, and Ottawa's 0-6. BC at 1-5. And, you had Chase Bryce, who I think you expected a bit more from them. They were at home. He's been around for a while, but you get down and you can't generate anything, and they say, hey, let's bring in Caden Salter at quarterback, and he was okay, but that was garbage time, against the Argos, which have the worst offense. He went 9 for 15, 121 yards, no touchdowns. He rushed 4 times for 12, but let's see him. At what you hope to be a sold-out Princess Auto Stadium with loud Bomber fans, and they've got the counter every time they create a false start. So I imagine a bit of a different atmosphere for him. But Jordan Younger, I'm sure he'll be dialing something up. I did find it interesting, him talking about the short week. They really had like one day of practice, and mentioning Reda Cramdy, what he brings, not just with his play, but with his mind, just diagnosing what the offense is going to do. So you hope the Bombers can pick themselves off the floor and recover from this 50-burger that they gave up. That was not just the defense, too. That was special teams as well. And in offense as well, turning the ball over. Just all phases didn't go well.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we'll have much more on the game over the next couple of days. Looking forward to having Doug Brown on. I think we're going to squeeze a phoner in with Doug. He's going to be doing some traveling tomorrow, so looking forward to getting to all that with him. All right, we got to do a Assiniboia Downs picks. Let's get to the Cool Bet lines for tonight, and I will remind you all that Week 9 picks are open in the free WST Cool Bet Pick'em contest over at Cool Bet. If you haven't played there before, you can go to the promotions tab or go into Cool Bet League and simply make your picks for the week. The top scorer each week is getting $50 into their account, and the top scorer at the end of the season, Ted Lai 2 right now, is the leader at 145. Will be going to the Grey Cup. Hotel, airfare, tickets, all courtesy of the great people over at coolbet.com. Reno, remember last night at the end of the show, I fired out a quick baseball parlay?
Yes, and?
That was a winner last night, folks. It was a 4-gamer. And the funny thing is, I mixed up. We were talking about the Cincinnati game, but it was also talking about the Phillies and the Marlins last night. And I had put in, I mean, we talked about all those games. I guess when I did the one for the show, I went with the Mets and the Yankees. I took the Cubs over the Cardinals, and I had the Reds to beat Cleveland. I thought for some reason that I had Philly in it. So I'm watching these games. The Philly was the early one, and they blew a 2-run lead in the ninth, gave up 3. The Marlins won. I think they broke a 12-game losing streak. So I was all choked. And then later on at night, I go back and check things and realize that I actually had the Reds instead of the Phillies on that ticket. Well, that game got rained out. So it was basically a 3-gamer or 4-gamer turned into a 3-gamer. But the Mets crushed. The Yankees came back and walked 9-5 over the White Sox, and then got a chance to actually watch the last couple innings of the Cubs-Cardinals game. So nice winner, just about 5-1. So we're going to peruse the baseball odds and try and crank out another winner for you today. Blue Jays are in action tonight. The Jays plus 117 on the money line. The Nationals plus 143. Just looking at the pitching matchup tonight. I think we're getting Bieber tonight. Yes, it's Shane Bieber versus Cavalli. Now, Bieber, as we talk with Josh Goldberg's had a couple nice starts recently. Considering I won last night, we'll do a support the Jays in a minute. But the Jays are suspended from parlays from here going forward because of what they've done so far this year. But we do have the Blue Jays at plus 117. The games that I do like tonight, Tigers at home over the Orioles. We've got I've already done this thing. I may as well just pull up into the made bets already. We've got the Tigers over the Orioles. The Milwaukee Brewers over the San Francisco Giants. The Red Sox over the A's. Now, that one comes in at about 380 or something like that. And then I figured, what the heck? We'll add the Dodgers, who are playing your Mariners tonight. The pitching matchup in this one is Robleski, who's 11-2, going up against your guy, Louis Castillo. Castillo's really struggled this year, Remo, and sounds like he's very much on the trade block.
Hasn't gone well for him. They've kind of rotated him between like being an opener and a starter. I don't think he has the zip on his ball that he did a couple years ago. And it's kind of funny. The Mariners had this awesome season last year, got to the ALCS, were so close to the World Series. Similar to the Blue Jays, their top hitter and like Guerrero Jr., Cal Raleigh not having as good of a season. The Mariners, I guess they're 2 back of a wild card, but they're 3 games under 500. It's a bit of a hangover for them as well. Kind of funny.
Yeah, no doubt. So we're putting in here Tigers, Brewers, Red Sox, and Dodgers. Those 4 together, if you want to play them all, just about 6-1 plus 589. Although you can, if you want to use your the 10% multiplier, which you can do once a week, that'll take you well over 6-1. But it is up to you. So a few favorites, parlaying them together. What else do we have tonight? We've got a little WNBA, but CFL lines are here, and they've kind of moved a little bit. Again, full new episode of CFL 110 is ready for you. And, I see the Bombers have already moved to 7-point favorites. That was 6.5 when we made our picks this morning. And interestingly, so this morning when we did CFL 110, the Bombers were 6.5-point favorites against BC. That's now 7, all about a rookie quarterback starting on the road in the toughest place to play historically. That hasn't been the case this year. Alouettes are 7-point favorites against Ottawa. Calgary was a 5.5-point favorite this morning. It's now 4.5. I'm not sure whether that's due to some sort of injury report coming out of Calgary, but we'll have to check in on that. And man, I can't wait for this game Saturday night. Saskatchewan and Edmonton. Elks, 1.5-point home favorites for that one. We do have our WST parlay, the CFL 110 parlay. And this is nice that we got it in when we did. I guess for the Bomber game, not so much for Calgary. But we like the Bombers -6.5, Calgary -5.5, and the Riders +1.5. That one boosted to +650. Hit that one up in the Cool Bet exclusives. Just while I'm here, noticing that my guy Xander Schauffele, PME's got a nice boost there, +2250 for him to win the Rocket Classic. We'll get to some golf picks tomorrow when Patty joins the program, and we'll make that happen. But we got some baseball, we got a little WNBA. We'll make golf picks tomorrow. We got tennis, and it won't be long. Not that I bet, well, try not to, on the NFL preseason. Believe it or not, next week, I think we get the Hall of Fame game, and then boom, we're rolling with the NFL. And speaking of cool bet, I know everyone's having a great time with the free CFL Pick'em. The guys are cooking up something big for NFL season with a weekly Pick'em contest, very similar to this. I wonder what they're going to do for a prize for that one. But we'll keep you posted here on WST. Poker is a week tomorrow. That's the last tournament of the summer series and your last chance to qualify for the final the following Wednesday, August 12th, where the winner will be going to Estonia for the Cool Bet Open. Unbelievable Euro event. You'll get flown there, hotel, entry into the main event. So if you are a poker player, if you got friends that play poker, let them know next Wednesday you want to get in. You need to be in the top 2 to lock that down and make it into the final. And good luck to everyone that is already qualified. Remo, we're not done yet. We got some horse picks to make on as we get ready for the Derby. Darren Dunn will join us on Friday to set up the Monday field for the biggest day of horse racing in Manitoba. But to be honest, every day is a great day to check out the racing. And we got a big slate tonight. Awesome races. 7 of them tonight going at 7:30. And we got to get back to our picks.
Yeah, we were not able to make our picks last week while at Princess Auto, so we're adding a bit extra for tonight and tomorrow night at the track. And I think I'm on all 7 races here.
I'm spraying the board today too. All 7, my friend. All 7. Just deciding on what I want to do for the final race of the evening. I've saved myself $6 so I can do a triactor bet for the final one. And as I say, I'll just pull this up here. Race number 7 for this evening. But you want to just roll them through?
Sure. I'm on race 1 to 6. I don't have 7. I have 1, 1-3 Exacta, Rugged Rooster, and Mini Glazed Donut.
That's funny. This is happening now. You can tell we've done enough picks together where we're getting trends. I'm on a 1-3 Exacta.
Oh,
$4.
Okay, I also have that as well. Race 2. I'm on horse 4 to win. Get some more. Bit of a longer shot there, and what looks to be an even field.
This is a wild one. I think these are all like new horses.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've never heard of these.
As far as I'm concerned, this is a complete just like dart thrower. So, like, as if I'm not betting on a horse named Beer Budget.
I was going to say, you're for sure betting.
That was a lock. That was an absolute lock. I'm in on Beer Budget, horse number 6 to win race number 2. I do have a triactor for race 3. We're going triactor box here. Race 3. 1-4-6. So Little Tribune, and then 2 of the favorites, more of favorites, Moonshine Boogie and La Conica, who is the favorite in the race.
Okay, I'm on 2-4-6 in this one, so Grenache is mine instead of Little. So I'm going 2 instead of 1.
I just have a toonie on race 4, and I'm going on number 2 to win, Smooching.
Smooching, that's a good one. I like horse 1, Valerie Valesky, but Smooching's good, Huss. I like Smooching.
Race number 5, I'm throwing 2 on Madeline to the Max. Horse number 3, I should say.
Okay, I'm not on 3. I'm on 2, 4, 5 in a trifecta box here. When I Saw You, Off to the Payroll, and Sum Up the Silver. That's what I'm on here.
All right, and my race number 6 pick is a triactor box.
Okay.
Number 3, Steal Your Soul. Number 7, She's So Croatian, and number 8, Apple Fest.
Okay, I'm on a couple different ones here. I'm on 2, 3, 8, Catch the Dream, Steal Your Soul, and Apple Fest.
All right. And then for the final one of the day, I have to make a pick of a few of these. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go. So 1 and 4, the 2 favorites here. You know what? Maybe I'll do a wilder one. We're going to fade 4. Unless I do like it at HPI, you can just sort of bet and see, geez, won their last race. Kiki Love did not. You know what? Kiki Love is out. We're going with Princess Alaska 2-4-7. Hardly Mischievous, Princess Alaska, Sense of Awe, $1 triactor box. Again, that's 2-4-7. And that will be my selection. We're not even taking the favorite. Hopefully that means a huge, huge victory for me in the final race today. We'll do it again tomorrow. And then don't forget, Monday night, 7:30 post time, is the annual running of the Manitoba Derby. I always love having Darren on the program, Remo, but especially when we're heading into Derby weekend, and he will join us on Friday's program.
Yes, I'm always looking forward to the Derby. You know, big prize, big horses, who's going to take the prize, and the big kickoff press conference. Looking forward to seeing who's in it this year. And Darren usually has some pretty good insight as well on who he thinks is going to win. So that's always a fun conversation every year.
There might be a local horse for the first time in forever. A local horse that has a really, really good chance of winning the Manitoba Derby. So we'll lock that down. Fun show today. Good stuff with Ken. Always love chopping it up with him. Simon Hildebrandt, and of course Josh Goldberg and Remo. But if you want more, especially CFL, new CFL 110 with myself and Hammer. Hammer had some great takes today. We made our picks. The CFL 110 parlay is up in the Coolbet exclusives. But the entire show is ready for you, podcast or over at YouTube. Flip over there right now and make that happen. And Remo, I guess how's the planning going for the big birthday party?
It's coming along. Big birthday. You know, my son's birthday is a long weekend every year, so we usually go out to Winnipeg Beach, doing stuff in the city. It's taken over, this might be like a 5-day celebration here coming up.
It's like the birthday week. Get to party every night.
It's gotten crazy. You're going to what is it? Icelandic Fest in Gimli, family stuff. A lot going on.
What's the activity for the party? Like the actual party?
Party, we set up the Gary Lawless's bouncy castle at the beach. Always gets set up. Shout out to Lawless. My dad saw him on the side of the highway and got it from him.
Have you seen this thing that has been on I've seen it on X quite a bit lately. And I'm pretty sure it's AI. But it was like, can you imagine if we had this when we were kids?
It's like an elimination chamber.
Yeah, the elimination.
Oh my!
There's an elimination chamber one, and there's also another one where it's like a slide that goes in. So you go behind the thing, and it looks like the kid it's his entrance, and then they slide into the pool.
There's all these AI things like going around. Like this is the elimination chamber one. There's AI. They're all AI. There's like a Costco like lazy river that you can buy for your backyard. It's all, you can do a lot of fun stuff. Unfortunately, they're not real.
I guarantee you that this exists by next year.
If you could buy this
now that someone has kind of made that, like, you don't think the WWE is looking at the reaction to every single person going, "Oh my God, that would be the greatest thing I've ever," like the kids would just love it.
Don't they?
Elimination chamber, like to have the kids go on the thing and then get let out to jump in the pool. But this is whoever thought of this, brilliant, and this actually does need to be brought to life.
I thought WWE's big slogan was "Don't try this at home," but here's the fake Costco lazy river house. Like these are awesome. I think someone should make this $1,000 lazy river. I mean, these are all jokes, but they do look pretty legitimate.
The elimination chamber or the WWE ring pool should not be a joke. That should be reality.
Hey, that would have been
pretty yourself as a kid. Would that not be the most amazing thing you could have? Maybe some of the parents wouldn't like it because of might get kids a little rougher in the thing. But again, kids need to be toughened up a little bit these days. A few laps in the elimination chamber pool with their friends might not be the worst thing.
I'll say, my friend Benji Rothman, local comedian, had his wedding social. It was with wrestling. It was a wrestling show, and they had the ring set up. And then after the wrestling portion, the ring was the dance floor for the social. And let me tell you, getting in that ring, hitting the ropes, like going from side to side or just going up on the turnbuckle and holding your arms up like you just won the title was one of the best feelings that I've ever had. Is this something you've always wanted to do watching wrestling? So I was at
that social. I wish I could find, you need to get me the date of that social, because if I knew when it was, I could go back into my phone. I'm pretty sure I have a video of Remis trying to take a bump.
Yes.
I recorded it. And Remo like running in and hitting the ropes.
It was
a great party.
It was a great party. I was actually like trying to simulate a match with one of my friends, and he put his foot down wrong and like severely sprained his ankle. I felt pretty bad about that. So getting up there, you can't mess around like you used to.
I bet he doesn't say it's fake anymore, does he?
Yeah, and actually, speaking of wrestling, I know WPW is going to be at the Bomber pregame tailgate Thursday, starting at 5:30. So,
what?
I forget what it's called.
Sweet Bobby Shink?
I don't know. I got to check it out. But yeah,
big Bobby Shink guy, one of my favorites of the local scene.
Where is I got the poster. I like Sammy Peppers myself here.
Yep, Sammy Peppers. I had many
it
matches
is Bobby Shink.
There he is, sweet Bobby Shink, right up there. Bobby's got some great. He's got some tights with like what looks like a Jets logo on his ass, but it actually says Sweet Bobby Shink in like a Jets type logo. And yeah, Sammy Pepper's part of the great tag team Red Hot Summer. I think I actually commentated on a couple of their largest wins ever back when he was just getting done a couple years ago. Did I ever tell you? Okay, we should get out. But if anyone ever saw, this was, I guess, towards the end of the pandemic era or whatever, I was doing some CWE commentary with my guy Dave Paterson. And they would record these matches. And I would meet Dave at Hooters. And we would go into the back of Hooters and record our commentary, like watching the match as if we're there on these tiny little microphones. We had so much fun doing it. And I got to say, Kevin Cannon of the Cannon Corporation, an unbelievable job editing it. I'd watch this stuff back and I'm like, you have no idea that we're not there. That is some big league stuff. So anyways, that's out there too. The archives of CWE on YouTube. Go have some fun with it. Folks, that's going to do it for us, though. Fun show today. We got a big one tomorrow as we get closer to game day. Tomorrow, Rowicki's going to jump on the program. As I mentioned, Doug Brown. We'll talk some Bombers. His level of concern was pretty high after Friday. We're going to get ready for a big weekend and homestand for the Winnipeg Goldeyes with Andrew Collier. We're going to have a real cool Travel Manitoba segment, and Patty's going to jump by. We're going to get ready for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Great field for the tournament in Detroit this week. So busy show. Anything else that comes up, obviously, we'll hit it. Myself, Remis, Connor. But that's going to do it. Thanks to all of our sponsors, guests today, all of you for hanging out. Have yourself a wonderful Tuesday evening, and we'll catch you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. In the meantime, go check out the latest edition of CFL 110 on the YouTube channel or on the pod. Later, folks.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.